Um, so I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Let me just put the disclaimer.
Yes, ma'am.
But I will say that the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad give us a lot of insights, and we can come across feeling like we are psychologists. So with that being said, what I will say is, so I want to bring in auditing and Dianetics for this answer a little bit, because, becoming an auditor, I realized the understanding the reactive and the analytical mind, right? And I think oftentimes when we study psychology from the Western civilization and Western philosophy, they like to label everything. You look at the DSM-4 or 5 or whichever version they have now, which is the diagnostic standard kind of operating book that they use. Every behavior has a label. With Dianetics, it was it was simplified. I'll use that. It was simplified to say there's either the reactive mind or the analytical mind. So when you ask a question around trauma, oftentimes when we are suffering trauma, whether it's perceived trauma, actual trauma that we've experienced, and or trauma that's happening to us or outside and around us, we're naturally 99% of the time going to be reactionary. Black and brown folks in particular are reactionary people because of the trauma that we've suffered in America, but of course all over the world. So oftentimes when we're reacting, we're in an emotional state. So when we're in an emotional state, reason and logic go out the window. So that's really what, in my opinion, this is what we're seeing in our communities. This is what we have been seeing in our communities, and it's being exacerbated because of the pressures of this world going down. So now you have dysfunction in our communities at an all-time high. You have drug use, alcohol use. You have delinquent behavior amongst our children. All of that is at an all-time high because I believe that we are reacting to the traumas that we've experienced over the years. There's a real thing around generational trauma, and there's a real thing around what they call it collective or group engrams, right? There's a group of us that have experienced similar things. And then you couple that with individual trauma, right? So really what I'm seeing is that our communities are, again, I use reactionary as a term because we're constantly and quick to argue with one another. We're quick-tempered with one another, short-fused. You say something wrong to me and now I want to take your head off because I disagreed with you, right? Not you personally, but, in the third person. And so when you see that at a heightened level, I classify that as we're very reactionary and we're out of balance. And so what helps to calm that is really, therapy is something that I think we know the reasons why we have shied away from therapy, but it's something that we all need to be engaged in. And also when I say therapy, it does not necessarily mean going to get a PhD or getting someone or calling the insurance company or your, primary care. That's one way. But sometimes your therapist is your brother or sister that can hold you accountable and to check you when you're out of balance, right? Sometimes your therapist is just that good friend, right? That can say, hey, sis, you're looking or you're acting other than yourself. So sometimes we have to broaden what it means to get help and broaden our thinking around therapy, counseling, and being able to work through a lot of things that we've experienced.